welcome to Get Seen, Be Heard. I'm Karen Yankovich, and my co-host Christina Daves is not here today. She is in Minnesota with her son at, I think, her very last hockey travel trip. He's a senior, so she wasn't going to miss that. But we talk, so in Get Seen, Be Heard, we talk about PR and social media and how to really use these powerful platforms to really enhance your brand, to get your brand to be seen by a larger community, to grow your community with these powerful tips. So today, Nicole Liloia is joining us. I'll let Nicole introduce herself in a minute, but Nicole is a friend of mine as well as a really savvy business lady, and we'll let Nicole introduce herself. Why don't you do that, Nicole? Why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
So I'm happy to be here. I'm actually lucky enough to live in New Jersey with Karen, so I get to see her in person a lot of the time, not just, over Periscope or Blab. I'm actually a therapist. I have a small therapy private practice. I started a couple years ago. I work with a lot of stressed out women there who are overwhelmed and who are looking to figure out how to manage their day better. And it sort of has, starting out as a therapist and figuring out the business end of things has just kind of transformed my life because I really fell in love with the business entrepreneurial part of it. So now I've added coaching onto my practice as a separate business, actually. And in my business as a business coach, I work with women who are looking to leave their 9-to-5s and, start their own business, travel more. I love travel. The whole reason, I'm obsessed with being an entrepreneur is because it lets me be location independent. So it's all about figuring out ways to make more money, doing work you love, and, having a fun time.
Awesome. So we typically start these shows off by talking a little bit about what's been happening in our industry since last week. And for me, it's been all Periscope. I was at the Periscope Summit this week, which, I was honored enough to be invited to be a moderator of a panel. So so that was really fun. So I went to it, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. Yeah. It was the first one that they'd ever
like.
Yeah, well, it was the first one they'd ever done, and they changed the agenda a lot. They changed the location a few times, so you just worry a little bit, right, about what was gonna come of it all. It was awesome. They had a opening night party, I guess Tuesday night, and I don't know if you guys know Holly Gillen, Aaron Smith. There was a couple of my fellow Periscopers and friends there.
Right.
So yeah, so that was fun. But to me, so I'd never met Aaron in person, but you feel like you know these people, right? When you Periscope and Blab with them,
right,
because you actually talk to them and see them.
Right.
So it was kind of like a bunch of old friends meeting, but for the first time. It was kind of weird. But
so who did you moderate the panel for?
So I moderated the panel for, so the panel was called Community Building with Periscope. And the panel was, I'm actually going to, hang on one second. The panel was, so there was 4 people on the panel. It was Jeff Goldberg, and Jeff is a New York City Periscoper. He scopes the sights and sounds of New York City. So he'll go out at 2 o'clock in the morning and just go to the subway and find somebody playing their guitar in the subway, and he'll Periscope them for a little while, or he'll just go to the, to the Empire State Building and he'll Periscope that. So he's built a community around that. And I met up with him Tuesday night to get to know him a little bit, and really, really enjoyed him. Met him, his wife, really got to know them pretty well. He's a super nice guy. Mm-hmm. And he's a guy that's building his community. He's got a huge community. I don't know how many followers he has, but a lot. He's got 3 million hearts. I mean, he's a huge community. And he doesn't really know what he's he's just doing it right now because he's enjoying doing it,
right,
which is amazing. And then Joanne Pham, who started Perry Girls. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Perry Girls, right? Yeah, Perry Girls. She started this community to help women Periscopers support each other, right? So little technical issues. So she was on the panel, and she's grown the largest Facebook community for Periscope,
which I'm in.
So that was her community. Alex Beeden, who is she supports entrepreneurs as well, and she The topic changed. The topic didn't change yet, Vicky. We're just starting off. We start off these shows with what's been happening in social media this week. So we're going to move to LinkedIn as soon as we get ready to roll into the top. So Alex Beeden was she has a community of entrepreneurs as well, and she was actually voted in by the Periscope community. They wanted to see her at this summit, so that was fun. And Robert Stern, who is also a social media consultant, and he's built a big community of people following him as well. So it was really a fun event. And for me, to tie this into LinkedIn, I actually did a webinar last week about using LinkedIn and Periscope together, because for me, like, the people that were there for the most part are people that I think really, they really know their stuff, right? They really are good at their job. They're good at what they do. But a lot of people are just kind of like Periscope celebrities, and we don't really know if they're any good at what they're teaching on Periscope, right? So for me, I think it's really important that you use LinkedIn to support your online, your live streaming efforts, right? So for me, I tell everybody on Periscope and on Blab to connect with me on LinkedIn, because I've taken a lot of time to create a LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn Insights is here. Cool. I've taken some time to create a LinkedIn profile that I know supports what I want people to know about me. Right. And by sharing that with my Periscope community and my Blab community, it kind of, I hope, kind of authenticates me, right? It gives me some authentication in this live streaming world. So LinkedIn Insights, I don't know how my picture is streaming on the side here, but I gotta like scroll up and not see it because it's odd. How did you do that? Magic. I guess so. So that was really the fun stuff that's happened since last week, was the Periscope summit.
Let me ask you something though. How do you direct people to your LinkedIn profile? Do you just say find me by my name because it's your name, or do you like show people a piece of paper with the link or whatever?
Well, on Periscope, I show people the piece of paper, but here I basically I'll show you. I'll do it right now. I mean, I just put my oops, I can't even spell my name. Hold on. I put my LinkedIn URL in the chat stream, right, so people can connect with me. But why doesn't it come up? Hold on. Let me try it again. Hang on. You have to put HTTP on Blab. There we go. Oh, no, that didn't come up either. All right. Well, maybe someday my LinkedIn URL. I typed it 3 times in the chat and it didn't come up. So
where it says type something cool.
Yeah, where it says type something cool. Maybe if I type something.
Maybe type something not cool.
Right? Maybe it wasn't cool enough. Yeah, it's not coming up. Interesting. So anyway, so that's what I do, Nicole. And I basically say, I really want to stay connected with you. I don't really want to just grow an audience of people that are just watching me. I want to get to know the people that follow me on Periscope and Blab. So I use LinkedIn to do that. I always ask, how can we say, I want to get to know you better. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Tell me that you saw me on Blab or on Periscope so that we can, so that I know that's where you found me. And then I can check them out too, right? I can see what they do. LinkedIn Insights, do you want to join us and tell us how you did that little cool box that everybody's asking about? I'm going to open this seat in case you want to join us. But yeah, so for me, I really think that LinkedIn is the perfect way to kind of take yourself apart from the live streaming celebrities to let people know what qualifies you to be talking about the things you talk about. Right? So Nicole, why don't you tell your LinkedIn story a little bit? Nicole and I, like she mentioned earlier, we, by the way, for those of you that just joined us, Nicole, this is her first Blab. So we need to welcome Nicole to Blab. You guys should all follow her because I think she'll be blabbing more now that she gets, because I know Nicole. I think she likes
I love the little high fives.
Yeah, right? Originally they were called Feels.
I did know.
I know. So now they're called props or something.
Okay.
But
well, first off, I rely on Karen to introduce me to all of the new social media things. I'm very lucky because she brings me into the trend. So throw me into Periscope, although I did fall off of that. But I'm getting back into it. And then, you know, you've been talking about Blab, so I did download it last week to check it out. I couldn't really figure it out, but now it seems very easy. I guess I just wasn't really focused at the time. But you also, you know, introduced me to the importance of LinkedIn. I definitely was kind of ignoring LinkedIn. I had a little, you know, profile, like basically like an empty resume. It probably listed the places I worked, and that was about it. I really had no like inkling to do anything with it, no desire to do anything with it. But, you know, starting to read Karen's stuff, I realized it could be really beneficial to, you know, at least just like anything else, it's social proof. You know, when you have 500 plus connections, and it's very easy to get that, you really, you know, people see you as somebody they want to connect with, or they're thinking like, who is this person? So I think that, you know, I started to take Karen's tips, and I started to beef up my profile, and I actually started to get active on there by sharing things. And pretty soon after I did that, I just started to connect with people. Like I said, I have a small therapy private practice, and I found LinkedIn really good for that in terms of building relationships with local psychiatrists, other therapists, referral partners, meeting for coffee with them, you know, not just sticking to, you know, direct messages, but actually taking it off LinkedIn and meeting people in person.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so one of the things that so your goal to take it into person, tell us how you do that. Tell us how you connect on LinkedIn, but move it to in-person connect.
So, I mean, it happens either way. Like sometimes people message me and they're like, I see you're located in Ridgewood, or, you know, I'm located near there too. Tell me about your practice. So then I'll tell them about my practice. They'll be like, oh, do you want to meet up for coffee? Sometimes for me, it's just easier to like set up a time to talk, or I say, do you want to set up a time to talk or meet for coffee? And people love to meet for coffee. You know, my office is in an area that is pretty kind of trendy. There's lots of restaurants and coffee places. So it's a great way to get out of your house. I think that so many of us, you know, we're working behind the computer screen all day, especially when we're working on our own businesses. We're not connecting with many people. So people are really eager to get out there, or, you know, in terms of therapy and businesses like that, you're by yourself, or you're with your client, you know, so you're also a solo practitioner. So I think people are eager for that, like, coworker vibe, even though you're not coworkers. You know, they're eager to kind of get that relationship going and have other colleagues to consult with or talk to.
I love that coworker vibe. I need to write that down. That's a hashtag. That's a hashtag. Because you're right. It is. There's so many solo entrepreneurs, and you know, we meet each other on Twitter and Facebook, but we really get to know each other and more about each other on LinkedIn, I think. And my goal is always, like I tell people all the time, I want you to grow your LinkedIn network because your network is powerful, but I want you to get it offline and pick up the phone and talk to people, not just have a lot more, you know, like it's really not about just having connections. It's about meeting people and really getting to know people.
And I think that's what really makes you stand out, is when you're willing to say, oh, let's meet up, because that's not frequent anymore. People avoid face-to-face contact. We've gotten into a thing where it's easier, we say, you know, and to be honest, it's actually easier for me to meet up with someone for an hour for coffee than it is to send lots of messages back and forth and not really ever get to know the person or know how I could help them or how they could help me.
Right. So Lynna has a question, but before we get to that, Lynna, I want to just say too, like one of the things that, you know, talking about moving connections online to offline and offline to online, I think that LinkedIn really helps me with my offline networking. Because what I do is I meet people. Let me just grab here's one. I meet people at networking events, and Nicole and I try to go to, you know, some networking events. And, you know, listen, I'm an online marketer. My business, my clients are all over the world. They don't need to be in New Jersey, but I would say about half of the people that have bought my online programs have been people I've met in person. So I, when I go to these networking events, I give them my business card. Can you guys, let's see if we can get this seen. So if you see on there, it's got my LinkedIn URL on there. And what that does is it tells people that I want them to connect with me afterwards. And when I meet people in person, I say I'm a social media consultant, but I don't say like I've got 50,000 Twitter followers and I speak all over the place. I don't tell people that. I just meet them and I see what I could do for them, and we just, connect. But when they check out my LinkedIn profile the next day, hopefully it's impressive. And it's not because it's not has nothing to do with my ego. I want them to want to do business with me, right? So I like to use my LinkedIn. I put my LinkedIn URL on my emails, on my business card, because when I meet people in person and they move over to LinkedIn from there, they know more about me. They know everything I want them to know about me and about my business.
Right.
So this question is, she wants you to provide some specific methods in terms of growing your connections on LinkedIn, because you did mention it was easy to get to 500. So how did you get to 500?
So what I did was, first of all, make sure you get into groups, and I really recommend joining your alumni groups. So looking to see your college or grad school, if you have it, their groups. And if there's anybody in there that you recognize or is close to you or is doing something similar to you, and just add them and say hello. To be honest, most people will accept you even if you don't know them. So, sometimes you don't necessarily have to send a message, but if there's a specific reason why you think you'd want to connect with them, definitely say hi and let them know why you've added them or why you're reaching out. Then the other thing is, you're going to just start seeing, once you add people, they're going to say, do you know this person? Do you know this person? To be honest, most of the people I don't know in person, but a lot of times they look like someone I'd want to know or someone I could maybe help. So, or someone who would be interested based on their profile, as a therapist who is a little bit more active in the business sense of growing my practice and helping other therapists do that. There's I see a lot of therapists that pop up as do you know? So I add them because I think that sometimes the information that I'm sharing, the articles I'm sharing, would be helpful to them. And I've definitely had people reach out to me and ask for referrals to therapists and, let me know if I would be a good fit. And if I'm not, then I could refer them to someone else. So it's definitely giving me great options to meet with people. But, see who you have shared connections with too. And I've also done things like searched the town of where my office is. So I've searched Ridgewood and seen who's popped up in the thing. I was looking at one point for psychiatrists to refer to. So I searched psychiatrists, Ridgewood or Bergen County or local towns, and added them that way.
That's awesome. And one of the things that I do too, on the same topic of online and offline networking, to grow my network, one of the things that I do is when I join a new networking group, for example, I'm a member of the Mahwah Regional Chamber of Commerce in Northern New Jersey. So when I joined the Mahwah Regional Chamber of Commerce, I literally sat with the member directory and added people, and I put a personalized message that said, hey, we're both members of the Mahwah Regional Chamber of Commerce, and I'm a big LinkedIn fan, and I would love to be connected with you here so I can get to know a little bit more about you. So what that did was, when I went to these networking events and met people in person, they were like, I know you, we're connected on LinkedIn. So it works two ways, right? It's not just I connect with people on LinkedIn after I meet them in person.
Wow.
Right. I connect with them before I meet them in person in many cases. And I use the fact, like Nicole said, very often people are going to accept you anyway, but you don't want to be the person just running around giving all these random invitations. You want to send out invitations that have a purpose. So if your purpose is we're in the same networking group, we're in the same alumni group, right? Mm-hmm. That's typically going to bring people to be willing to accept your connection request. Right. And by the way, every one of those connections are now leads. Mm-hmm. Every single one of them. You don't really know how yet, you don't know if they're actually going to, be a client, or maybe you'll need to hire, you'll need to help them with something, or you'll hire them. But every one of those connections, there's a possibility that you're going to do business in some way with them. And it could be, it could be even if it's your next door neighbor. Yeah, Vicky. So it's isn't that weird that it's not letting us put the LinkedIn URLs in Blab chat? Interesting. So it could be that your next door neighbor you're connected with on LinkedIn, and then they don't know that you did some of these things. And they're like, hey, you know what? My brother might need your services. Right. So every connection request is not something you should just connect and walk away. You should connect and look to find an opportunity to see if you can get a phone conversation. And that means you don't want 2,000 a week. You want to get a couple at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I see Rick going to a networking event.
Trucks going down my street. And it's so nice out today here. I've got all my windows open.
So Rick is going to a networking event. Do you have any specific questions about, how to connect?
Yes, if somebody wants to jump on and join us, you're welcome to jump on at this point. That would be great. For me, like I said, I put my LinkedIn URL on my business card at networking events. I don't ever say anything about, I don't say anything like, oh, I'm going to connect with you on LinkedIn tomorrow, but I have stacks. When I come back, I keep the stack together and I clip them together. And when I have time, I go back to that stack of business cards that I got at the networking event, and I see if I can find them on LinkedIn the next day or 2 days later. And then I quick run in and say, hey, it was so nice to meet you the other night. I'd love to stay connected with you here. Or, if you could throw something in about something that you talked about, right? That would be great too. And then, here's what I would say to do from there. And I don't even know if you do this, Nicole. I mean, a lot of people don't even know this exists. Once I send the connection request, I also go into LinkedIn and you can set a reminder. So you can, so before I set a reminder, so there's certain things you can do. You can set up tags, okay? And this is all in the contact information. Let me just actually pull up LinkedIn on my other screen here so I can tell you exactly the steps that I do. But you basically go to, you go to the contact, so you find the contact, and I'm just going to pull up, let me just pull up this one. You find the contact, and then you can create a tag for the organization. So if you go to a networking event, so for me, Mahwah Regional Chamber of Commerce, MRCC, is one of my tags. So if I meet somebody there, I come back the next day, I make sure I tag them with that MRCC tag, and then in the contact information, in the relationship tab, there's a section that says reminder, and you can click a reminder and say to follow up with this person in a week or a month or whatever you want. Yeah, so it's just a way to because I'm busy. Like, who's got time to remember all this, right? So you set the reminder, and LinkedIn sends you an email that says, hey, Kara, you said you wanted to talk to Nicole in a week. So that's kind of like my process once I come back from a networking event. And by the way, the people that you're connected with don't see any of this. They don't see that you've tagged them. They don't see that you've followed up. You can put notes in there about, especially if you had a conversation that's of interest, you could put notes in there about that. So Melanie Stomp and PR is saying that some people don't get their vanity URL on LinkedIn, so using search makes it easier to find them as you can put in their location and business name. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And even if they have a vanity URL, they don't always have it on their business card. They hardly ever have it on their business card. So using search to find people is really the only way to do it. You just got to be sure you have the right person, because a lot of people have the same names, right? So you've got to really do your best to make sure you have the right person.
Right, exactly.
Right. So Lynna is asking, Karen and Nicole, is it a good idea to use LinkedIn to post my blog posts or YouTube videos in order to drive traffic to my website? If so, how often do you suggest people doing it on LinkedIn? So I'm going to answer that, and I'm going to say there's a two-part answer to that. Okay, the first part answer is you should be posting once a day on LinkedIn. Like same way you do on Facebook, you just go to LinkedIn, you go to home, it says, I'm just going to tell you exactly what it says. I'm going to look at it. It says share an update. You click share an update, and you could put a link to your blog post. So for sure, once a week, you should, so you got, let's say that's 7 things you want to post on LinkedIn. You're going to post once a day, say 7 days. And obviously, you don't need to do it 7 days. I mean, I'm lucky I do it Monday to Friday, right? So, and you don't want to do it 5 times a day, but if you do it twice a day, that's okay too, right? So one of those 5 or 7 is going to be your current week's blog post or your current week's video or whatever, right? The second post might be an old one. So not only do you want to share the current one, but you can definitely be sharing content that you created a week or a month ago, right? Like content is content. And once you create content like that, you can continue to share it. Right. Now, Rick is saying that he can't remember the last time he posted anything on LinkedIn. Here's the thing, Rick. What you want is once you connect with people at this networking event tonight, you want them to see your name in their feed every time they go to LinkedIn, right? So by posting on LinkedIn, it's not always about just driving traffic to your website, because that definitely will drive traffic to your website. It's also about keeping your name top of mind with the people you're connected to. So when they go on LinkedIn, they see your name. I have a local business that actually the business owner is actually a friend of mine. And he said to me the other day, every time I turn on LinkedIn, your name is in my feed. I'm like, that's the goal. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to find. And so you want their name to be in their feed.
The thing is that people, when you're on Twitter, there's thousands of people like posting a million things. So it's really hard to get it seen. I think it's easier to get your stuff seen on LinkedIn because not as many people are sharing frequently.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So you will be more present.
And you know what Rick's saying, that you're assuming they're on LinkedIn. Not everybody's on LinkedIn and they don't go on all the time. But you don't need everybody, right? You just need the few people. If 20% of your audience is on LinkedIn, and by the way, I think the statistic, I had it in my mind. I think the statistic is that 60% of LinkedIn users view LinkedIn every day. Maybe it's slower, maybe it's 45%, but it was a big number. And now what that is, most likely that means that they're on their phone, right? It's probably not, they're not going into LinkedIn on their desktop. But the thing with LinkedIn is it's so much less noisy that 40%, if that number was 40% of your audience is going to see your update every time they go into LinkedIn. That's amazing, right? Like that doesn't happen on Facebook. That doesn't happen on Twitter at all. So when you do these updates, I'm going to find that number. I think it's 40%. I did a workshop on just last. I had all the numbers in my head and they're gone now. So let me just scroll back up to some other. Oh no, let me do the second part of Liana's question. The second part is, so you have a blog post, Liana. Not only do you want to post a link to your blog from your website, but you can also repurpose that blog and those YouTube videos as LinkedIn long form posts. Mm-hmm. If you guys go to my LinkedIn, which we can't post here for some reason, but if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see that there's tons of LinkedIn long form posts, which are my blog posts repurposed for LinkedIn. So it gives me another way to keep my name in that stream. It also establishes me more of as an expert, right? Because when people connect with me on LinkedIn, they've got my business card, they met me at a networking event, they check out my LinkedIn profile or I connect with them, and they see not only do I say I do all of these things, but I write about it every single week. So they can read what I write and decide if they really think I'm worth continuing to follow, right? So not only can your blog post content be useful to drive traffic to your website, LinkedIn can be a great way to repurpose that content that you've already worked so hard to create in the first place. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's see, we have some other questions here. And if anybody wants to jump in, come on and jump in. How do you find your audience in groups? So Nicole, you want to do that because you talked about groups earlier.
Yeah, so I basically look for groups. I like to look for local groups on there, I mean, a lot of times too, like alumni groups, you probably get emails from your alumni, from your college, wherever you went, and they will often invite you and say, we're on LinkedIn, come check us out, or just do a search. I've definitely done a search for like New Jersey entrepreneurs and joined that way, women entrepreneur groups, whoever you want to connect with. I started out, like I said, more focused on my therapy practice. So I was, part of the Association of Social Workers and things like that. So what are your interests? So put them in that way. Who do you want to work with? Where will your ideal clients or customers be hanging out?
Right, that's a great idea. So we're going to join. So On the Brand is going to join us. Hey, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Do you have a question, or can you add to the how do you find your audience in groups topic?
I actually had a conversation piece and question for you, but I'll wait.
All right, so I'll do one more topic on the groups and then we'll jump into, because I'd love to hear your question. For me, with groups, and Nicole mentioned it a little bit, local networking groups are a great way to start, because people, even if your business isn't local, people feel like they want to do business with people that are local to them. People have hired me because they see I'm in New Jersey, right? So I think that's a very underused type of group, and they tend to be active also. Because a lot of groups are just useless. They're not active. There's too many people in the group, and you're never going to be seen.
Test out the group. If action isn't happening, leave the group. If you're in there a week and there's nothing going on, leave it. You don't want it cluttering up your feed. You don't want it draining your energy. Just, you could cut out groups where things are not happening.
Right. So, okay, On the Brand, what is your name?
I'm Q the brand. I'm actually Q is my name.
Oh, Q the brand. Oh, Q is your name. Q the brand. Oh, very nice.
Yep. Hi, nice to meet you. So I am, I'm an entrepreneur, but I also manage social media. I'm a community manager for mostly restaurants and hotels, anything in the hospitality industry, and as well as in the healthcare industry. LinkedIn is an interesting monster to me. I have companies that want to be on LinkedIn, as have a page, and I haven't had much success with that. And I've actually been spammed more on LinkedIn than anything. So I guess my question is, what kind of content do you feel that people are more receptive to? If you find that number, is it 40%?
I didn't find that number, but I'm going to look for it right now because it was in a blog post that I did. So I just have to go to my website and I'll find it. I'll find it while we're talking.
Because that's a really high number. So, and it's interesting.
It is a really high number.
But
it was a shockingly high number to me. Yeah. I'll find it.
And I'm a very, my business was started purely from me sharing everything that I ate. I'm actually a chef nutritionist. So, sharing things and being transparent is what got me to where I am now. But I would say that, that type of content doesn't really thrive on LinkedIn, in my opinion.
Right. Well, that's probably true. But so you mentioned that you do LinkedIn. Like, when you said pages, were you talking about a company page or were you talking about personal profiles?
Company page.
Yeah, company pages are tough, man. They are tough, and they're hard to get followers. They're hard to get. They'll be seen by your followers, but if you only have 5 followers, then they're only going to be seen by 5 people. So company pages are tough to grow, but they're valuable when you want to do LinkedIn advertising. So there are reasons to have company pages. But the reasons tend to be more around using them to be able to advertise and get your content in front of a specific audience than actually growing your community that way. Does that make sense?
So what is the need for having that the company page to do ads?
Well, you can't do it. You can't do an ad from a personal profile. So if you wanted, let's say you have a product or a program coming out. So somebody's got. I can hear like myself echoing. So I don't know, Alex, if this is you. Welcome, Alex, by the way.
No, I heard you echoing before Alex got in.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you have a program that you're going to start, so for me, I have a social media agency. If I want to get more clients, I might run an ad to my demographic. And with like Facebook ads, you can be really targeted with who you show the ad to bring that company page in front of that audience. You can't do that with your personal profile.
Gotcha. Okay.
Perhaps it means people, bigger names from the company need to be using their LinkedIn profiles or have their profiles managed to bring attention to.
Well, exactly. So with a company page, what I always recommend is that you make sure that people that work for the company are attached to the company page, and then they can share the updates, and that's a great way to grow that company page.
Or you use it for employees. It's kind of like, some people that get it in their heads that they have to be on all these platforms, and it's not even relevant.
That's true.
I don't bring it up in terms of, something I'm going to go out of my way to do, but unless there's something I'm missing. So that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, right. It's definitely finding the right fit for each company.
But in the hospitality biz, unless you're talking employment things, I don't really think that, those pages are really going to be helpful.
Right.
Unless you're targeting business travelers.
Right. I was just going to ask, you're targeting business travelers or meeting planners or something like that.
Right. So Alex, welcome. I'm actually still scanning my other monitor for that blog post.
No worries.
How are you, Alex?
Yeah, very well. And you're going to hear my son, my mascot here, chime in every once in a while. I'll try to keep him down. But in terms of the company page piece, it really does depend. Most of the time, the folks that, at least where I've had success, is using it as just another syndication platform for the company's press releases or upcoming webinars or social media events, things like that. And certainly from advertising, it's a necessity. But yeah, I operate my own very modest consultancy, and I have a handful of followers, but I don't really push it for that purpose. I use my own primary personal profile the most for that. But I did want to jump in just because I've been using LinkedIn for many, many years now, and I've used it in the social selling capacity as well as marketing. And there are things I love about it, things don't really care for, which is fine, right? I mean, that's the same with all. But I do think that it's very important. I don't see how a salesperson, particularly in a business-to-business setting, cannot leverage LinkedIn in one way or another, unless they're a really niche industry.
Right.
Right. I also think that, you know, if we're doing any kind of digital marketing, if you're marketing yourself online in any way, shape, or form, I think you have to have a great profile at least, because people are checking you out. They are Googling you. They're looking to see more about you before they hire you. Whether they're hiring you, you know, whether you're looking to get a job or a client, right? They're going to check you out. So your LinkedIn profile is going to come up. And I think it's, you know, important that you at least take the time to create a great profile, even if you're not using it to really market.
Right. I think at the end of the day, it's all image and you want it to be consistent.
Right. So I just found that blog post. It is 40%. It is 40%. So 40% of LinkedIn users check LinkedIn on a daily basis. I put the blog post link in the chat here, and in the blog post is a link to where I got those statistics from.
Awesome.
So that's huge, right? Because if you have 100 followers, that means 40 of your 100 followers are seeing your LinkedIn, your updates every single day, right? That doesn't happen anywhere else.
Right.
Yet we think to post on Facebook, we think to post on Twitter, we think to post, you know, on Instagram, but we're not necessarily thinking to post on LinkedIn, where people are actually going to see what we're posting.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that does help me be more consistent with posting on LinkedIn is actually Buffer app, because it does post to LinkedIn. And before that, I would say I probably had zero content or anything that I was sharing on there. But Buffer definitely makes it a lot easier to add it in.
Right. So you can send your blog post there. You can, right. Exactly. You can schedule stuff, like you can schedule stuff that isn't really time sensitive out on Buffer. And then if you see articles that other people share, you can share, like, and comment them just like you can on any other platform.
Right.
Right. So, and those are also ways to keep your name in the feed, which we want, right? But also ways to support other people. So if I see Nicole post something that I think is really valuable to my audience, I'll share it, because number one, I'm supporting Nicole, but number two, it's keeping my name in the feed for people to remember what I'm doing. And, you know, that doesn't mean I don't have to create all that content, I guess is the point. You don't have to be creating content all the time for this. You can use stuff you've already created or other people have already created.
Right.
Yeah, along that line, sorry for you seeing me jump in and out trying to get the mascot settled. Along that lines, the 40% stat, I do believe that, and in some, again, I think in some industries it's probably even higher than that. But having said that, I think keeping your name in the feed, it really depends on how many connections one has. I mean, I have about, I don't really count, 3,200-ish folks that I've just gradually pulled together in my network over the years. And it's a constant stream. It's almost like Twitter in that way, where if one is not looking, it's almost like the Telegraph. If you're not there looking at the Telegraph, you won't see it come across. Whereas there are certain people that I'm more aware of that I go out and seek for various reasons. And on the published posts, I think there's more traction there. But even so, I've written published posts that had 1,600, 1,500 views and double-digit comments and all the rest of it. And then it seems like LinkedIn tweaks their algorithms a bit, because then all of a sudden there'll be 80 people that have viewed, and it's sent at the same time, very similar subject, et cetera. So even there, it feels like, unlike Facebook, where they tend to talk more openly about what they're doing, LinkedIn is a bit more secretive. and how they're modifying things.
I think they're still trying to figure it out, to be honest.
It's a pretty expensive platform to be doing that. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I interrupted you. I was just saying that it's, they rolled out company pages, and, for someone like myself who manages multiple companies, it's really not that, user friendly. It's quite frustrating, to be honest.
Even the whole, one of the aspects, and this is, I don't mean to take us down a griping on LinkedIn path, but it can also, I find a lot of frustration in working with LinkedIn, around the costs for what they charge. I think that's rather rich, so to speak, pardon the pun. But B, you're right, the user-friendly aspects are stunning, or just that they're not user-friendly. And particularly those of us with larger networks, I've listened to friends of mine who are professional executive recruiters that have tens of thousands of folks that they're connected to. And being able to organize and slice and dice and dive into the eaches of their own individual connections, they find it very, very challenging.
Right.
And I would hope that there are areas that LinkedIn can improve on.
Sorry, Nicole, go ahead.
No, I do think it's interesting, though. I think there's a lot of people who are on LinkedIn that aren't on Facebook and aren't on Twitter. So I do think that there is still that you have that, ability to reach people who just don't do the other social medias. So I think that there is that kind of strength depending on what you're doing.
I agree.
Yeah.
Alex, do you feel with your published posts that, you would rather post the entire thing on LinkedIn instead of driving traffic to whatever page it happens to be on?
I think it depends on the company and one's specific profession or where they're focused. Generally speaking, I don't view LinkedIn as my blog platform. So I'm going to try to pull them away. I might give an excerpt if it's something that I'm really feel strongly about, and then redirect them over to, say, Tumblr or one of the other, or WordPress, et cetera. But again, I think just for me personally, I think it depends. I know with quite a few of the healthcare clients that I worked with, they're hosting their own blogs on their website. So they use the LinkedIn company page and even the individual employees to kind of redirect back that way.
Okay, awesome.
And then somebody was asking earlier, and I don't mind, I'll jump out, but it's actually what wanted me to kind of sit in, the questions around groups and how to find people, compelling leads or contacts on groups. The manner in which I do it is to use the search function within the groups of interest that I find compelling. And then and I do have a premium account, so I pay for the extra search granularity. But I've been able to find a lot of leads that way by focusing on a specific group with keywords and titled keywords, and it'll just present you a list of people that you can then reach out to directly. So that's something that's worked for me anyway.
Great idea, too, because you can get totally lost in the groups.
Yeah, some of the marketing ones that I belong to, they have. One has over 180,000 members.
Yeah, and you don't want to be sitting there wasting your time scanning and getting lost in conversations that have nothing to do with what you need to be focused on too.
Yeah, and somebody.
No. It was back on the premium thing. So go ahead.
I'll just finish and then let's go back. Then let's jump over to premium. But I have found that there are those groups that. Well, they might as well just be run by market research firms, because all it is advertisement after advertisement after advertisement for a market research report, and they use catchy tagline or headlines rather to try to get people to join in or join the group or to engage. And again, at the end of the day, it's just an advertisement. And for those groups, I'll give them a little bit of time, and then I pop out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I've hit my group cap. I probably should be more engaging, but the emails were obnoxious, so I had to stop those. But I tried the premium feature for free when they offered it to me, and I really didn't see any benefit for me. I mean, I at the time, I didn't feel like a lot of my audience was there, but at the same time, as individuals, everybody seems to be on there, you know.
What do you mean? As individuals, everyone seems to be on there.
I mean, everybody seems to be on LinkedIn, whether they check it or not. I don't know, right? So that's another thing. It's like everybody could have a profile, but then 6 months later you'll get the connection. So it's even though 40% of people see it, I don't know, what are the active users like? So for me, paying for premium, I just wasn't seeing a return on it. People were not responding or engaging, or have you seen any of that? How do you can't force people to use it. I'm not making any sense.
Well, you know what? For me, can you guys hear
rambling.
me? Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. Sorry for all the craziness.
Yeah.
For me, premium is helps me when I want to dig more granular on search. So Alex said the same thing. That it helps me from that perspective. There are I don't really send a ton of emails. Now you can't hear me?
Now we can again.
Oh my gosh.
There's a delay.
I don't know what it is. Okay, so for me, it really is about the additional search features that you get with premium. That's what helps me. You can get more granular and you can really target your audience more. But there's so many things you could do without the premium. So initially, you totally don't need premium. But if you want to really start to use it and really search and really find people to really grow your business in a very specific targeted way, then LinkedIn really helps. The premium really helps.
That's what I do too, especially when I'm doing lead generation and I need to get to specific people. Having the premium account gives me access to more in-mails, the ability to reach out to folks that I'm not directly connected with, or there are multiple levels of people between us. And so that can be a cost-effective way. It's not something that I tell my clients to do in terms of broader lead generation, but if almost like a sniper, if there's a specific individual at a specific group organization, right. I don't want to mix up the group thing, or a company, then absolutely the in-mail could be a cost-effective way of doing so. But so for me, it makes sense to have the minimum level of premium account. And then also I use a tool that is more of an inbound lead generation tool that is plugged into the API at LinkedIn. It's called Autopilot for LinkedIn.
Oh yeah? And their pricing Tell us about that.
Yeah, their pricing has gone up substantially, but it is a very fine tool. So what it does is it ties into the search functionality, and it will, in an automated fashion, hit profile after profile after profile within the given search criteria that you establish. So, for example, I'm moving to Atlanta here in a few weeks. My wife just accepted a clinical position with the VA. So I've spent most of the last month and a half, every day or two, I'll set up a search for Atlanta within 100 miles, and I search for marketing in the healthcare industry, and then I just click go. Oh, and I limit it down to, I think it's second-degree connections. And then whatever that number is that comes back, depending on one's premium or one's membership level, I think for basic members, it allows you to tag LinkedIn, caps it at 400 contacts per day, I think. And it will then, in an automated way, go through every single one of those contacts. So what that individual sees on that side is, hey, Alex Burgess came in and saw my profile. Well, geez, that's odd. Why would he do that? Or, they'll look on my profile. And when they look on my profile, that then allows me to go ahead and send them a connection request.
So Alex,
that's one way. And then it also allows you to download emails. Go ahead.
Could you put a link to that service in the chat stream when you get a chance?
Yeah, as soon as I get them to pay me to do that, I would know. Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that. Sure, yeah,
wait. You're going to tell us about it. You got to let us check it out, right? So
sharing is caring.
Sharing is good. And that's, it's a big deal.
Let me ask you one question to each of you. I'd love you each to answer this. So the whole point of this podcast is get seen, be heard, right? About how to really establish a presence online so people you can reach a wider audience. You can reach your ideal client, your ideal audience. How does LinkedIn help you do that? Or does LinkedIn help you do that? Does LinkedIn help you reach people to really be seen more as an influential person? Or do you think it really just helps you get one client at a time?
Alex, go ahead.
So for me, LinkedIn by itself it doesn't just automatically give me access to a broader audience. I mean, you get in, you put in what you get out, or get out what you put in. Having said that, it is a valuable tool, particularly and I find if I write about something, if I post about something using the public post, not the sharing update feature, something that is more controversial, and I use more controversial language or sharper, sometimes even snarky language, I get a much higher return. Okay. Whereas, if I'm being the strict kind of, because people, I guess it's just like corporate brands, right? The more individualized, real corporate brands, people have a tighter connection with. Whereas if it's the standardized, slick, clearly produced by a professional marketer kind of presentation, people kind of, it's not that they don't want the information, but it's a different emotional response. So in that sense, yes, I find that LinkedIn has been helpful. But again, they've done something with their algorithm in terms of how, and just more and more people are publishing posts. I mean, that was a concern when they first announced and released that feature. There were going to be more people doing it. So now we're becoming more numb to it, I think. But
true.
Question.
That is true. That's an interesting point. It's a really interesting point. So Q, what do you think? Oh, can she not hear us?
I think she's getting together. I'll start.
Okay.
I think for me, it's not helped me seem influential in any way, but it's helped me bring up like the one-to-one connections, which is more the area that I prefer and excel in. Anyways, it's more comfortable to me for one-to-one connections and connecting with people and building, a local network.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Q, do you have a thought about that?
You might be on mute, brother.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Okay. So I guess for me, what I think, how I think it helps me is, and again, it's about, I put myself out there personally. I'm out at a lot of events. I was just spent 2 days at the Periscope Summit meeting people. For me, I like the fact that I can write my LinkedIn profile in a way that when people check me out later, they are impressed. And not they're impressed because I'm such a big deal. They're impressed because I tell them everything I've done. And that's what I want for you all. I want you to write profiles that people are like, wow, this person's done a lot, and we've all done that. I don't care what you've done to date. You can write a profile that makes you look like a superstar. And it isn't about faking it. It's about just owning it. Yeah. I'm actually going to do a Periscope later, because one of the things that came up for me yesterday at the Periscope Summit was the difference between ego and confidence. And for me, it's not about your ego. It's about being confident that you can really do the things that you do for a living successfully and help people with it. When you're confident in your profile, I think it impresses people. And that's to me how it helps me get seen and be heard. Does that make sense?
Yes,
so Q, we cannot hear you. We still can't hear you.
But LinkedIn Insights 1 video it's gone. No, it's still not. Although something changed.
Yeah, we still can't hear you. So Q, maybe we'll see if we can get somebody else. Does anybody else want to jump on and tell us a little bit about what they're using LinkedIn for?
And I'm going to go ahead and drop. Thank you, Karen.
Thanks so much, Alex and Q, for being here. It's good to get you.
I'm going to listen in, but I got other stuff I got to knock out too. Thanks,
okay, cool. So we only have a few more minutes. So if anybody wants to jump in and tell us a little bit about how you're using LinkedIn, or if you have any questions for either Nicole or me, I'd love to have you. Carlton's joining us. Yay. And Michael. Okay, cool. Welcome, both of you.
Hey.
Hey, guys. So I don't know if I can hear either one of you.
I heard Carlton first, I thought.
All right, out.
Michael, we can't hear you, Michael. We can hear Carlton. Tell us about Carlton.
Hi, it's great to kind of catch you virtually in person there, Karen. We connected on LinkedIn after my first Blab with Carrie Glenn, I believe. But it's great to see you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I love LinkedIn. I had a guy help me to improve my profile rating, but I haven't got any business from it. And I think because I don't have clear expectations or a clear understanding of what LinkedIn is for, other than having a virtual or electronic resume.
Oh boy. Well, I could go on for a long time about that, but it is more about your personal brand. And Carlton, I do remember you, and you have a pretty cool personal brand, right? You've done some cool stuff. I mean, do I remember the Olympics?
Yes.
Am I remembering the right? Yeah. Okay. So you have a really cool personal brand, and people, not that that's going to, I don't even know what it is you're looking to do with your life or what you would looking to be doing to grow a community, if that's what you're looking to do, but you can establish that brand there. And then once you do, you can kind of, like we talked about earlier, join groups, join communities of people that would be interested in what you have to say and the kinds of things that you do. And it's not really about selling your stuff. It's about connecting with people that can further your goals, whatever they are.
Well, there have been plenty of connections, and so I'm content because just the status alone, I feel pretty good. It's all-star. I don't know if it gets any higher, but when I first got on LinkedIn, it was like 40. And I was like, yes, I got 42 connections. And this guy says, no, you got a long way to go. You need to at least get to 500. So, now I'm in grad school. I'm training for the Olympics. And so I'm at a point where I can pull back and refocus, get a clear understanding of what LinkedIn is for, get a clear understanding of what networking is for. Because I spent 20 years in the Navy and didn't learn how to network. So I left kind of kicking and screaming, but I was happy I was done with it. But there were skills that would have served me in this civilian life had I learned to network. So I'm kind of foggy on the purpose of that as well, but I'm learning. I'm in school, so I'm a lifelong learner.
Yeah, me too.
Who are you looking to connect with, or what, when you say clients?
Well, typically the C-level executives, the business owners, people who have made upgrades in their life, their cars, their homes, the way they dress, but then their fitness, they're still looking at a $10 trainer who knows absolutely nothing. I mean, our industry is riddled with ambitious people who are poorly educated or not educated at all. And then they run out with the latest craze and people get injured. So I try to connect with those who have had that experience, want to get in better shape, have a higher quality of life and mobility and all that comes with that without the risk of injury. So I'm the fitness body engineer. I just look at it like the cars. I mean, if you want a Ford, you don't go to the Bentley dealership because you don't want to pay for the Bentley. You just want a Ford. 4 doors, four wheels, get you around back and forth. But, the Bentley or the Rolls Royce is a different proposition altogether. But that's the type of impact I want to have on the fitness industry, is to establish a level of service that is comparable with the Rolls Royce or the Bentley.
Very cool. So, but I think you can do that on LinkedIn. And it might not necessarily be about connecting with another client. It might be about connecting with partners, about other people that have clients similar to yours that you can collaborate with. And sometimes that's the most powerful those are the most powerful connections on LinkedIn. I
mean, this is powerful. I'm talking to the Karen, and me and Phonics got started late, but I'm going to try Yankovich.
You got it. You got
it. Okay. This wouldn't have happened without LinkedIn. It wouldn't have happened without connecting with people, going to conferences and seminars. So for that, I'm happy. And so I'm taking it. I think I'll have a clearer understanding and I'll be in a position to use that information as I grow. So I'm not that frustrated right now.
Absolutely.
Where are you located?
The Tampa Bay.
Okay. So I think too, like once it's, again, like the online thing gets a little crazy with trying to connect online and find people to find you online. And I'm just thinking, can you look for local companies and corporations that you could actually contact their HR department, connect with them on LinkedIn, contact their HR department and go in and talk to them about corporate programs.
Karen, right? I think you should send me an invoice because I wouldn't be talking to Nicole if it wasn't for you. So, I mean, that is a great...
You got it. What's your email address? I will. How much do you want me to bill you for?
Yeah.
No, it's true.
I'm a grad student. So let's kind of prorate it.
Well, listen, and listen, you've done a lot for, you've done a lot in your history that benefits me now. So this is on the house. But I will say that you might have missed this earlier on. Nicole and I both talked about how powerful. So Nicole is local. We live in the same town. We live in northern New Jersey. And we do a lot of local networking together. And my business, I have clients all over the world, but about half of my clients have come from people that have met me in person. So even though I don't need to go to local networking to get a client, I tend to get business when I do local networking. So because people just like to do business with people they know, right? And that's one of the reasons why these new platforms, Periscope and Blab, are so impactful, because people get to know you so much faster. So I think some in-person networking using LinkedIn would be really powerful for you, in two directions. One, connect with people locally that are on LinkedIn and then hope to meet them in person. And then two, the people you meet in person, connect with them on LinkedIn. And that just gives you a way to really further those relationships. So I don't mean to be rude, Michael, but I don't think we can hear you still. Yeah, you have no sound. So I don't know. I'm going to, I'm sorry that we can't hear you, but we're going to open up the seat for somebody that might be able to join us. So,
and I also recommend, do you go to networking events? Has that been an opportunity, like something you've been doing?
It's funny because, okay, first off, where in New Jersey are you? Because I've been up to Camden and Morristown.
We're in the north part. I'm right outside of the Giant Stadium. So we're both within like 30 minutes of the city.
Okay. Right.
So Jersey City or?
Right. New York City.
All right. So.
We call that the city up north.
Okay. So.
In southern Jersey, they call the city Philadelphia.
Oh, no. Did I lose you guys again?
Okay.
No. Here we go.
No.
Okay.
All right. So I've gone to, the question was, have I done live networking events? I've gone to live networking events. I can be in an elevator with perfect strangers and network, because I don't like being around people and not connecting with them, because I think it's rude. So I'll look at all of them watching the numbers and I say, you know what? That's one thing that will never change. So I think what we should do before we get to our floor is introduce ourselves. And they're like, man, I can't wait to get out of the elevator with this crazy guy. But I can talk to people that I don't know with no ulterior motive other than to say, hey, how are you? Connect as another human being. The challenge is transitioning that. I don't know when and how to transition toward more business-centric conversation.
Right. Well, there's a question here from Shebang Handgun asking about how do you find Blab and Periscope followers on LinkedIn? And I'm going to just kind of say, I don't know that you do. I think it's probably the other way around. I think that, I get LinkedIn connections from my Blabs and Periscopes. The best way to get Blab and Periscope followers is to Blab and Periscope and to jump on other people's Blabs and Periscopes, because it's still a small community. It's still such a small group of people that Periscope and Blab. So I think if you go on LinkedIn, it's still too big of a platform to find Periscope followers. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is it's rare because you can talk to people. Now, Karen, I saw you way up here in the stratosphere. I was like, okay, if I ever get to meet that lady, it's going to be a privilege. So to be able to just come onto Blab and to be able to talk with you and get immediate feedback, that is something that I find very powerful. For it to be free, that is unbelievable.
Right. Well, we started this this Blab off by talking about the fact that I just spent the last couple of days at the Periscope Summit in New York, and the things you hear there, and when you hear the power of these live streaming platforms, it's only going to get more exciting and bigger, and we're going to find more and more fun things to do with these things, right? Mm-hmm. So Pat is here. I'm going to let Pat in for a second, but I am we're so determined to keep this at an hour, and we're already over, so we're going to kind of try to speed this up a little bit. If Christina was here, she would already be on my case to shut it down, but she's not. So we're going to go a little longer because it's such a good conversation. So Pat, I'm just prefacing that with you're joining us with, we're going to just keep this kind of moving quick and close it up in a couple of minutes.
I don't know where.
So
Last call.
How are you, Pat?
I'm good.
Okay, he's here, but I don't see him yet. It's kind of frozen.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, so we'll just keep talking until Pat is unfrozen.
Oh.
Well, I think what we were talking about, is saying about free stuff. And I think when you connection is really take it from how can I help you? You know what I mean? How can I help your staff? How can I help your coworkers, your employees? And letting them know, like, I'm a training for the Olympics and I'm a personal trainer and I help people stay fit. And, can I come in and do a talk? And what kind of value can you give them? And then it comes back to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right up my alley because I met an Olympic judo competitor yesterday. He's actually a new professor at my university, and he immediately took me back to the human performance lab, asked me some questions, wrote me a workout, told me to get on these supplements, blah, 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 blah. So it's like that is kind of what I expected from the school in the beginning. But what he did is he just presumed that since I'm training for the Olympics, I'm fit. So he asked me to do a couple of things, and he watched me do them because my knowledge and his knowledge, or my knowledge and his intent, don't always match up. And so he looked at me and kind of critiqued some things and said, okay, do it this way. And the average person hasn't the foggiest idea of how to do exercise. And when I explain it to people, typically with a squat, they say my knees hurt. Well, it's because you're going into a rolling kneel. I mean, you are in the Middle East, you see it all the time when the prayer call goes out, people drop down. They're kneeling and the weight is driven to the knees, but they're taking their body to the ground. When people try to squat, they have a discomfort and shearing effect on the back of the kneecap. That quick illustration gets them to see that, okay, I can squat without pain. What else can this guy help me do correctly where I'm not increasing my risk of pain or injury?
Can any of you guys see or hear Pat? Because I can't.
I can see Pat.
I can't even see him.
I like his setup.
Okay, so Pat, I don't know what to do. I think we're going to have to just wrap this up. Sorry about that. Come back next week.
That's
so
totally okay.
Carlton, we're going to say thank you for being here today with us too. You guys should follow all these people. I'm going to just make sure I tweeted this, make sure everybody gets their tweet out. So we're going to wrap this up now. Sorry about that, Pat. We are going to be back next week, 2:30 Eastern. I just put a link to next week's Blab in the chat. Christina actually set up next week's. We have Alex Young next week. And I actually met Alex in person yesterday at the Periscope Summit, but Alex was scheduled. He's known Christina for a while. Alex works for Small Business Trends. He's a writer for Small Business Trends, and he was actually named one of the top 50 Twitter influencers as a must-follow PR resource, like alongside Guy Kawasaki, Lee Auden. So we're really excited to have Alex here with us next week. And like I said, I met him yesterday. Nice guy, smart guy. So click the link in the chat that I just put in there. I'll actually put it in one more time. And join us next week for Alex. Yeah, Mike speaking is asking questions. We're not taking any questions anymore. We're wrapping up. Get Seen, Be Heard. But come check out our YouTube channel. It's Get Seen, Be Heard on YouTube as well. I should have the link ready, but I don't, because we're putting all of these videos on YouTube, and we've got an audio stream. So yeah, and I want to thank Nicole for being here, and for all of the people that joined in to help us today, and to help me without my co-host Christina here with me.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you came. I'm so glad you went. And check out Nicole's page. Nicole, let me just do a quick shout out for Nicole. Nicole, is your webinar still available?
It is, actually.
So can you put a link to it in this chat? Nicole just did a webinar this week about affiliate income. So check out that webinar. The webinar's free. It was a crazy good one. She had a ton of good feedback, and she bases it on her personal successes with affiliates. So register for her webinar. Like I said, it's free, and it's in replay now. But
yeah, you can get the call right away. You'll get the recording. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. All right. Next week, Get Seen, Be Heard right here on Blab, 2:30 Eastern, every Thursday. I'll see you guys then.
All right. Bye. See you then.
Thanks for joining us today on our Blab series, Get Seen, Be Heard. If you've missed any episodes, you can always find us at www.getseenbeheardtv.com/YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll always be notified when we upload a new episode. We work together with clients, helping them combine social media and PR to get more customers and grow their business. If that sounds like something you'd like to learn more about, visit us at www.soartoprofit.com. We have regular workshops where we combine our expertise and show you how to use social media and publicity to get seen and be heard. See you next week.